So today's video I'm going to be talking about The Gift by Sebastian Fitzek, and this book is a book that originally is published in Germany. He's a German author and I'd never heard of him before, but he does seem to be quite a popular author, and he's written quite a few other books, and obviously, you know, he's popular enough to be translated into English. So I received this book in one of the book boxes. I actually think it was not the last one, but the one before, and I was quite excited by it. It was quite an intriguing premise. So on the back, when you read the synopsis, it talks about a guy called Milan who has difficulty reading, and he has this event one day where he's on the way back from a therapist's appointment and he sees a very distressed looking girl in a car as she drives by, and she holds up something written on a piece of paper up to the window to try and catch his attention. But unfortunately, Milan is illiterate, so he can't read what's been written on the piece of paper, but the girl is obviously distressed, and then, you know, he's on his way home and he just can't let it go. He wants to find out what's going to, well, you know, what's wrong with the girl, why was she so distressed, and it really kind of eats away at him. And then a few odd things happen to him as he's going about his daily life. He's actually working as a waiter in a cafe, which, as you can imagine, if you're illiterate, that can bring up some difficulties with writing down orders. But he has some like handy little tricks he does. He actually has quite a good memory, so he can memorize the whole menu, what people wanted, and he kind of like sketches people he meets in the cafe, and he sketches out this girl and what she has written on the piece of paper. And his girlfriend is kind of helping him piece together the clues. So he ends up in this whole big chaotic scenario where he's basically trying to hunt down this girl and help save her, essentially, from the situation she's in. Now, I will say the pacing of this book is quite fast, which I like. I like fast-paced books. I would describe this as like a horror / thriller, probably more on the thriller aspect actually, but yeah, almost like a psychological thriller where you basically have no idea what's happening in the story. The main character Milan has no idea what's happening in the story, and it feels like this big cat and mouse kind of chase game where he's trying to hunt down this girl, but awful things keep happening along the way. And as he's getting, you know, further and further down the line with trying to find this girl, more and more things are happening that are weird. There's more twists and turns. You don't know where this is going. Milan doesn't know where this is going. And yeah, it's all a bit chaotic, really. So overall, I think I would probably rate this book a 3-star. A pretty solid 3-star. And the reason it was probably a 3-star and not higher is just because I felt like the author tried to cram a little bit too much into this book. Like I said, it was kind of twist after twist, and once it got to like the third or fourth, you're kind of like, okay, can we just like stick to a narrative now? Because I like twists in books. They can be fun, but if it gets a little bit too much, it gets too jumbled, and like I said, it was a little bit too chaotic. For the reader, you were kind of jumping this way and that way, wondering what was going to happen next. It found it quite difficult to piece this book together. But the reading experience was enjoyable. I say the plot was definitely interesting. The aspect of the main character being illiterate obviously threw up a lot of difficulties for him, a lot of challenges. You got to read about his upbringing with that, why he is illiterate, how that's affected his life, and I thought that was pretty good. Although I will say there wasn't a huge amount of character development throughout this book, and I do feel like some of the characters just felt a little bit one-dimensional. We didn't get whole lot of backstory behind them. Like sometimes the motives behind their actions just seemed a little bit like they were doing that just because they wanted to do that, not because, you know, because the plot needed to progress, basically, not because there was any real reason behind it. I felt like because there were so many twists in this book, a lot of things that happened just kind of get fallen behind and never fully explained. And that could also be, again, because this book was translated. It was originally written in German, so it could be a translation issue. At some points, Milan, the main character, was referred to as another name, and I don't really understand why that was never really brought up again, unless, you know, that was never really explained in the book, unless I missed that somewhere along the way. But yeah, it felt very much like you were trying to piece this puzzle together, but the author was like quickly throwing the puzzle pieces at you one after another, and you couldn't put them together fast enough to fully get a full idea about what was happening. But yeah, so that's probably why it was a 3-star, I think. There was just too much twisty turns in it, but the premise was good. The characters were definitely interesting. I just felt like the author tried to cram too much into this book. I would definitely be interested in reading more from this author. They seem to have written quite a few, and from the reviews that I read, most of them were in German, but from some of the English reviews that I managed to read, they seemed to have similar issues as me. There was just too many twists and turns. But they also said that this wasn't their favourite book, you know, in his series of books. So, because I did enjoy the premise of this one, like the idea and the plots behind it, I actually would be interested in reading more by him, to see, you know, what his other stories are like. I'm quite intrigued. It was a very interesting story, quite different from other thrillers that I've read. And yeah, I feel like it was a pretty solid 3-star, so I'd be interested to read more, see if I'd rate his books, other books, a little bit higher than this one. I can't say too much more because I don't really want to give away too much of the plot line. But yeah, if you like fast-paced thrillers, I would say maybe give this one a go. It was very twisty-turny. But it was definitely an interesting one. I liked the plot point. I liked the whole cat and mouse chase. Like I said, it was quite fast paced. He was set up these like challenges to do along the way, and it was quite interesting to see how he went about them. The main character's quite headstrong. He's very much just, something happens and he reacts very quickly to that situation without really thinking it through, and you can see that there are other characters in the book that are like, hang on a minute, should we think about this before we act? And he just like goes for it and then obviously you have to deal with the consequences after that. So yeah, it was definitely an interesting one. I would say if you're into fast-paced thrillers, then maybe give it a go. And if you've heard of this author and you've read any of his books, then please let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. Have you heard of this one? I hadn't heard of this one before I got it in the book box, but I'm definitely now intrigued by this author. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Are you interested in reading this book? Then let me know. But for now, that's my quick little review on The Gift. And as always, thank you for watching. Until next time, bye guys.